All right. So, thank you all for joining us today. Today, we are going to be hosting a workshop on robotics, a soft landing workshop in robotics, all about how to also enter the market, especially in Europe. So, thank you all for joining. And yeah, we have a bunch of speakers with us today that are going to discuss this topic. So, just some welcome words from myself. My name is Maria. I work at Plug and Play. It's a venture capital company that also works a lot with corporate innovation. And I am a partner success analyst working in the Seeds of Bravery program, as well as other accelerator programs with Plug and Play. So, looking a little bit into the agenda for today, we will be discussing the robotics landscape from Lukas here, who is considered a robotics evangelist. He can tell you a little bit more about his background and his expertise. He will give us the industry landscape. Then we will have Tommaso coming from also Plug and Play, who works as a venture analyst that will look into the trends in robotics, but also specifically in aviation in Europe, so that he can give us his 2 cents on that side of things. Then we will have Irina working in the US, again for Plug and Play, and she will discuss the state of advanced manufacturing industry, as well as the VC trends that we're seeing in fundraising and what's going on there. Then we'll get a break of about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we will look into 2 case studies, one from Gideon Bros, from Dario, who will discuss his experience and his learnings on how to enter the robotics market in Europe, and then from Gordon Cheng from InTouch Robotics, who will also discuss his experience in working in robotics in Europe, specifically in Germany, and how he has managed to expand in different markets. But before we get into all of that, I will also wanted to briefly also discuss what Seeds of Bravery is for anyone that doesn't know. So Seeds of Bravery is a EU-funded project of 20 million euros, funded by under the European Innovation Council, that generally tries to support Ukrainian tech startups to expand to the EU, but also globally and help them scale up. So this program is led by a big consortium. It's relatively big. It's 17 organizations and 2 associated partners, but it actually isn't that big because everyone manages to bring some sort of expertise to the table, and everyone helps each other in making this program succeed. So the project has many different programs that are basically our grants. So there 5 different programs that exist under the Seeds of Bravery program. First is the Innovation Services program, which gives the startups up to 10K in grants, and the reason for it is to improve business models and growth strategies. Then we have the entrepreneurship, which is it goes up to 25K grant and it's for business continuity and also to establish women-led businesses. Then we have a program called Rebuilding Ukraine, which is also up to 25K in grants, and it's for innovative products and services aimed at the post-war ecosystem and reconstruction. Then we have a deep tech scale up, which gives us a grant of up to 50K. That is all about how to scale successful prototypes and expand market research and reach. And lastly, we have the Deep Tech Incubator, which also gives up to a 25K grant that just depends on what technology readiness levels the startups are at, and it's focused mostly on prototype validation and pre-MVP tasks. So I think these grants are great opportunities for startups to help them grow, and we hope that you do too. So depending on which stage you're at, just feel free to get on our website and check out what would be most relevant to you. Now, talking a little bit about the non-financial services that we give as part of this program. So we have matchmaking opportunities with investors, accelerators, big corporates. Then we match startups with potential clients. We help them with mentoring, deep tech acceleration, go-to-market strategies, and so many more support services. So I think it's a really great program for startups wanting to grow. So just as ground rules, and before this webinar starts and as we're about to head into it, just make sure to always use the Q&A function. If you have any questions for the speakers that are going to be part of this workshop, try not to use the chat if you have any questions. If there's anything else, do use the chat. But yeah, happy to get started. So today with us, we have Lukas, who will be discussing all about the robotics landscape in Europe. He's very big also on LinkedIn. This is his bread and butter. So maybe Lukas, if you'd like to introduce yourself, it would be great to have you on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Maria, for the short introduction. Also, pardon my my appearance. I just landed a couple of hours back in San Francisco, and it's 5 a.m. over here. So I will try to be as competent as I can, considering being jet lagged. Yeah. So maybe before I start, I would like to share my presentation, just to start with the introduction and obviously with the topic that we're gonna discuss today. All right. So can you just confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Just a second. All right. So just one more technical thing on my side, and I believe that I will be able to start very quickly. Okay. So hello everyone, and today I would like to give you a short update about the robotics landscape in 2025. What does it mean? Key technologies, trends, where VC are actually pouring money, what are the coolest R&D and research projects currently happening in the space. So let me guide you through the agenda I prepared for you. So first of all, I would like to show you a couple of AI projects that I personally believe are going to accelerate robotics and why robotics is such a thing these days. Second, I would love to focus on some key trends and rising technologies in that space. Last but not least, I would love to get a short review who got funding recently, what are the companies, so you can just connect the dots and see what are the trends happening right now in the industry of robotics. And obviously how to benefit and how to act as a founder, considering those circumstances. So I like to call myself a robotics evangelist. My name is Lukas Ziegler, as I told you. So it basically, robotics evangelist, it basically means that I love to talk about robotics whenever and wherever I am, about robotics applications, about use cases, about the trends and the new industries opening for robotics. As Maria mentioned, I managed to build a 250,000 community on Twitter, LinkedIn, and newsletter, talking to robotics founders about their cool companies, just trying to learn the lesson, what's so important in building the robotics companies, especially in deep tech, especially right now when actually AI is the real enabler of those companies. I spent my whole life in robotics. So I started as a programmer 7 years ago of Universal Robot Arms, then as a project manager for plenty of autonomous mobile robots projects. Afterwards, I joined multiple startups, starting from Poland, then in UK and also in Germany. The last one was the energy robotics. So you can see also the spot from Boston Dynamics. So we were putting those robot dogs into dangerous environments, for example, refineries, chemical plants, or power plants, where those robots were collecting data in real time. So we had a full-fledged autonomous robot system here. Data collection, data transformation with the help of AI and machine learning, but also very easily to connect via API to any system. So it was really like an end-to-end robotic solution that we were able to deploy. It was a startup around inspection robots, which is a pretty new market when you think about visual inspection for robotics. So I can also give you a couple of lessons learned from there. On site, I'm also a university lecturer for the topic of robotics and Industry 4.0 in Warsaw, in Poland. And yeah, currently I am doing this community building full-time. So I'm not associated with any robotics company for now, since December. Plus, recently I also joined another venture firm as a venture partner to help them to scout the new technologies and new companies. So that's a little bit about myself, and let me go further. All right, so we all know that robotics, that actually AI is pushing robotics forward at really incredible pace. And for me, it's not just about creating like better or faster robots. It's about creating robots that are more accessible, to create robots that are easier to deploy and to scale, and to basically create robots that are autonomous, more autonomous and more self-independent. And with the rise of AI, actually, that's what we can achieve. So right now, I would love to give you a couple of projects that I found really impressive. Maybe they are not industry specific, but just wanted to give you kind of an update. How can we make robotics more accessible, easier to deploy and scale, and also more autonomous? So let me get started with the AI projects over here. Okay, so I spoke about more accessible. So here you can see Hugging Face the Robot, which is the first project I wanted to share. Basically, what they are doing, they are making the real-world robotics accessible to everyone. So they offer models, datasets, and tools so everyone can contribute and experiment. And in this video, I may be gonna turn the sound off. You can see that they are teaching a robot arm to fold a t-shirt, basically using a super low-cost robot arm that costs $300. And by teaching it the neural network with two cameras, one from MacBook and one from iPhone. And the model itself you can train in like half a day. So this is very important to make robotics accessible to everyone, not just to people from universities, research labs, but actually to anyone that can join that space. And right now it's possible due to the lower entry point that those companies are helping us out to achieve. So as you can see, you do not need any more like a super fancy lab in your university to start with robotics and combining it with different machine learning concept. You can start small and you can source a lot of and you can use a lot of open source resources to do so. The next one. So I also told you about the easier to deploy. So here what I wanted to talk about, it's basically Project Hover. So imagine that you can train a humanoid for an entire year, but just in 50 minutes. Yeah, I know it sounds a little bit like Interstellar, but actually it's real. So NVIDIA partnered up with top universities to create Hover, a system that accelerates physics simulation by 10,000 times. So Hover basically helps humanoids to control their entire bodies. And instead of just training one separate task, they focus on a big picture approach. So you can have one system to rule it all. Basically, why it's so big in my opinion? Because in the end, we see a lot of humanoids succeeding right now with the funding, right, and doing the first proof of concept projects. But it will be really a game changer when you will have some frameworks that will allow you to copy and paste some applications from one robot to the other. So imagine you can just basically upload one task from one robot to another and the robot can immediately start doing it. So this is what I believe. Those kind of projects will make the ease of deployment and ease of scale up in the end, right? Because right now, when companies start with new technology, they typically start with a classical, I don't know, early adopter program / proof of concept with one or two robots where they are just trying to capture how much value those technologies are putting. Yeah, sorry, I saw the hand, Jody.
I think it may have been a mistake.
Okay, no worries. Super. Okay, but it's good I noticed. That means everything is working properly on Zoom. Super. Yeah, so as I said, just to wrap it up, so easier to adjust and basically add new tasks to robots. So this is when it comes to ease of deployment. All right. And yeah, this is also a tricky one, but I decided also to mention it because maybe not everyone is aware that the dexterity is one of the toughest AI challenges, because tasks like, I don't know, tying a shoelace or tightening a bolt, tasks that we do without even thinking, are super complex for machines. And this Google DeepMind research I want to show you is actually changing the status quo of these. So first, Aloha basically helped the dual arm to perform complex autonomous tasks, for example, tying the shoelace, as you can hear over here. And then also you have the demo start, which basically teaches the robotic hands more dexterity. And why I'm so bullish about it, because in the end, those framework will help us to solve very complex manipulation tasks. And we know that we are trying to apply robotics right now into space that is not super organized in different changing environments. So we know that robots must be more adaptable and they must react to the changing environment. So this is why I'm so bullish on those kind of research that are pushing robotics forward. All right, so let me go further. Obviously, the key trends and the rising tech. So when we come to humanoids, just a second, because something just got stuck here on my side. It's here. Yeah. So when it comes to humanoids, we all know what is happening in the last year. I mean, I don't have enough fingers to mention how many wow moments have been mentioned during the last day. So figure raising more than $600 million as a funding round last year. 2 weeks ago, they have just announced that they might be raising another round for the Figure robot. It's just to let you know, it's the robot from California, from Sunnyvale, already working in BMW. And yesterday you could see it also doing a logistic use case by just sorting parcels from the conveyors. What is interesting that last year I read somewhere that the whole, probably I even put it on the slide on purpose. So yeah, that some analysts predict that the market of humanoids will be around 30 billion by 2035. But the craziest part is that a couple of days back, Reuters wrote about Figure getting another round, more than $1 billion of investment at the around 40 billion valuation. So just wanted to see how quickly it is changing. So, in 2023, 2024, the prediction was that the market will be $30 billion. And right now there is one single company that is raising money at this kind of valuation. So I know it's you can say, all right, it's an American company, right? They are always much bullish on those technologies, but not only, because we also saw really cool investments in the humanoid space here in Europe. For example, maybe Neura Robotics from Metzingen from Germany. They also raised more than 100 million, actually $120 million euro investment. We also have 1X from Norway that also raised money in 2024. They actually opened a company in San Francisco as well, but they are from Norway, and this is the origin. So we already have also some cool robotics humanoid companies here in Europe. Also one company named literally Humanoid opened up recently in London, currently with a concept, but it's also showing let's say the momentum here that is really growing. When it comes to humanoids, it's also very important to mention that there is a lot of discussion. There is really a lot of discussion when it comes to, hey, do humanoids really need to have this human design? Do they need to have legs because they are super injury and error prone? So maybe we could use wheels. So there is like a couple of different, scenarios that people try to envision when it comes to humanoids over here. All right, so let me go further over there. Yeah, so here I wanted to show you the humanoid robot from United States, Figure, in one of the BMW South Carolina plants. And you can basically, so this is actually the first humanoid being placed in BMW factory. And their robots are capable of carrying up to 20 kilograms, performing easy tasks, but end-to-end autonomously. As we know, Figure recently broke down their agreement with OpenAI when it comes to AI and foundation model development, and they announced last week that they developed Helix, their own vision-to-language action model that helps the robot to really scale faster. So they said that this use case that you're gonna see right now, it's basically inserting some metal pieces into a machine, that they were able to achieve it in like 8 to 12 months. Right now they claim they can do it in days. with their new model. So if you want to Google them or find them on LinkedIn, you can just type Figure and you can see their latest video from yesterday where they showed the same robot doing also repetitive tasks, but in a completely different industry, in the logistics center, third-party logistics center, where it was basically putting parcels from the moving conveyors onto the output trays. Okay, so let me go further. All right, this is maybe not that sexy and trendy as humanoids these days, but those companies are also lending plenty of investments. So I used to call them special purpose robots. So basically, they are not general purpose robots, which means they are created to be applied to a specific tasks. And as a couple of examples, for example, you can already see the collaborative robot. It's Cobot, basically a startup also from America, founded by Brad Porter. He's the ex-VP of robotics from Amazon. He was actually the key enabler of the Kiva systems that everyone knows. So these multiple thousand fleet of robots at Amazon to scale up. And right now he come up with a solution that will help different industries in very easy tasks, but with very specific range of applications, right? So it's not like the approach for humanoids. Hey, you're gonna get a general purpose robot. You can use it wherever you want. You can place it in your home. You can place it in a logistics center. You can place it in the manufacturing plant. No, actually, those are more crafted for a specific use case. As you can see on the right-hand side, it also a use case from Eastern Europe, from Slovakia. It's Brightpick. So Brightpick is basically a robot that helps in also in logistic systems with picking. So it's doing a lot of on-shelf picking and putting onto the totes. So doing a lot of consolidation into the logistic space. So here I wanted just to announce what's happening also in the space, that it's not only about humanoids. I know that humanoids are the coolest and the most hyped topic right now, but specific or special purpose robots are also built different. They also have a couple of different, let's say, challenges when it comes to VC, because we know that when you build general purpose robots, you're opening up much larger market. So those are focusing on a niche, right? So they might have a limit total addressable market here, but they are definitely solving real use cases here. So obviously industry specific sales cycle and regulatory consideration can also make it more different for those robots to go there. But there are also advantages, right? First of all, there is definitely a faster path to the product market fit. Why? Because you have clearly defined use cases and customer pain points. It's also easier to demonstrate and quantify the ROI for specific applications, because you are not starting with the claim, all right, we're going to put a robot and let's figure out in 12 months what we can do with that robot. No, here you can already see that robotics is applied to a specific tasks, all right? Obviously also the lower initial CapEx requirements, because those robots are typically cheaper. As you can see, they are typically on wheels. They are not that complicated when it comes to the hardware design. So that's it. Obviously, also the clear exit opportunities is another advantage of those robots, because strategic acquirers within specific industries are seeking automation solutions to solve a dedicated range of use cases. So that definitely comes in handy. Okay, let me show you a humanoid that accidentally became also a use case solver for one industry right now. So here you can see Digit. Digit is basically a humanoid robot developed by Agility Robotics. And this is a robot dedicated for a logistics sector. So what's so special about Digit? So actually Digit can fit into any environment without any prior, let's say, upgrades of the environment. So it can basically retrofit into it. So it also, as you can see, it has a leg design that is inspired by birds, obviously not for the sake of mimicking the nature, but to make sure that the robot has the right agility and stability while working in the logistics environment with the conveyors. So probably one can also notice the special designed and custom gripper. So the gripper actually helps to work with totes, and there is a lot of applications with totes for that robot. So it's stacking, it's destacking, palletizing, depalletizing, but also transfer applications for, like, for example, taking the towed from the conveyor and putting it onto the shelves. So there is really a lot of use cases, and actually that's not just a POC. Those robots are already working for the top Fortune 500 companies like GXO, Logistics, or Amazon. So those are already working and applying value in a lot of companies. And here I wanted to show you a very cool video also from Brightpeak, a specific purpose-built robot, also for logistics use cases, basically to work with shelvings and totes. No special flooring or guidance required, so they are fully autonomous. Via API, they are able to connect to your warehouse management system, so they can get the orders and they know basically what they need to do in one time with the fleet management software. So let me also show you what a specific purpose-built robot can look like. As you can see, it can walk with wheels, so it's like having legs. It also have arm, so it's like having arms. So it's like, you know, less error-prone humanoid robot. So they can do also manipulation challenges with at a certain height, as you can see. So yeah, and they also got in total around 20 million, I believe, funding. 12 million was like 2 or 3 months ago. It was also dedicated for the expansion to the United States. All right. So that's when it comes to that. Also, last but not least, I would love to mention the enterprise software part of it. I also put a couple of badges. Perhaps someone from Formant or RoboVision or Energy Robotics. So this is really like, you know, the enterprise robotics software is like really highly going in there, because when you're creating software and you're having the software as a service model, obviously we know that we are working with higher margins. With a lot of VC like to have this perspective on what kind of products you can expect in the enterprise software. So data analytics software that can, for example, improve robotic performance over time. But you can also see a lot of interoperability solutions. For example, energy robotics. So energy robotics is a software platform for inspection robots, a robot agnostic, which means that you can connect different kind of mobile or legged platforms like Boston Dynamics, Anybotics, and plenty different ones. Which means in the end, you as the asset owner, oil and gas company, chemical maker, you can have just one platform to rule them all, right? You don't care if you have different types of robots, because we all know that there is not a perfect robot to do all kind of tasks. That's why it's so important to have like an orchestration platform to do so. So as I mentioned, data analytics, orchestration, or orchestration platforms that allows you to have a really interoperability around your robots. And last but not least, also the companies like RoboVision, it's also very important to mention. They're applying really deep learning into their platform and building robo brains for robotic arms. So we know that robotic arms are on the market for like 70 years. So the first robot was Unimate, deployed in 1963, probably in United States. So they are commodity, but they're applying to that commodity like another life, another batch of intelligence in the form of RoboBrain that is helping out to handle use cases that typically a normal robot or a classical vision system, 2D, whether a 3D, is not able to capture. So this is another kind of trend. So we covered humanoids, and I hugely believe that a speaker after me, one of them, will also definitely cover more in detail humanoids. But I wanted to mention, just to wrap it up, humanoids, general purpose robots that are, so humanoids like the general purpose robots for different kind of tasks for a big range, a variety of different use cases. Specified build robots for, you know, one vertical, just doing some tasks, but laser focusing on that. And then also enterprise software that is enhancing the hardware. So we all know that these days robots are not just about hardware. It's actually a combination of a superior enterprise software and really, you know, great piece of metal, which is the hardware. So that actually must be both of them. So applying the raw brain with AI and outstanding tech when it comes to mechanics and hardware. Yeah, so here I also would love to show you the physical pie. Finally, robotics is also getting accessible to everyone, as well as with Hugging Face. Can you see it? Yeah, you can see that. So it's basically Physical Pi created the open source for robotics with different models and tools. And OpenPy is an open source repository for those, right? So it includes two main models: the diffusion-based vision language action, VLA, and an autoregressive VLA. So both models come with pre-trained checkpoints, and based on over 10,000 of hours of robot data, they can be used and fine-tuned. And as you can see, there are also some super low-cost robot arms, but you can start to really do a lot of. So if you had this ChatGPT, and then there is a lot of ChatGPT wrappers as new companies, so you can right now think that, hey, you have pretty much everything that is needed to build a robotics company with cheap prototyping hardware, with open source libraries and code that you can, try to experiment with to solve a really specific problem over there. All right, and yeah, obviously the tech and the key techs ecosystem trends. Let me start with digital twin, because it's not business related. So digital twin and simulation is also already what I mentioned with the NVIDIA Hover. So those are approaches that are helping us to iterate and scale the robotics technologies faster. In simulation, you can, for example, enable multiple, when I say multiple, it can be even thousands of nodes that can run the same simulation, collecting data for you and improving the overall result of robots working. So digital twin and simulation here is definitely good for all the companies that are creating a robot from scratch and want to, have the faster iteration over time. So that's definitely, that helps a lot. Cloud robotics platform, I already mentioned about that, but we all know that right now robots are nothing without software. So those two elements must be combined. And as we know, cloud is very often used for all these aggregation, orchestration, data analytics platform, teaching platforms as well for robots. So I believe that is huge. What I observed also with my journey with energy robotics, but also with other companies I have chance to speak to, it's very important to enroll kind of an early adopter program, or, so you have your clients as your advocates, and they are helping you out to actually see what kind of technologies and what kind of, maybe not technologies, but what kind of use case are generating the faster ROI, the quickest ROI, and where the robots are applying the biggest value. So the early adopter program is a really great way to have the industry insider telling you what the robot must do in order to have the ROI assured. And if not ROI assured, then at least to have tasks being taken by a robot from a human that robot is doing better, right? Because it's always between these two approaches. Either you're saving or making money, or you're doing something better. So indirectly, you're also saving money in there. So yeah, those are the trends. And right now, last but not least, I would love to give you a couple of just free simple video. I see that I have just 3 more minutes. So just wanted to show you a couple of European technologies in robotics that got funding recently. So here you can see Neura. Neura is doing cognitive robots, not only humanoids, but also arms, mobile robots. Cognitive means that they don't just see, but they can also feel, they can hear, and they have multiple different communication protocols to connect with humans. The robot, actually, also fun fact, is called 4NI1. When you read it fast, it's basically for anyone. So they want to capture the market for the homes. I had a chance to meet David Drager, the CEO of Neuro Robotics, last week, and he also said that obviously it's more challenging because you require a really error-prone and injury-prone solution at your houses when you do not have so much control over the environment. Just imagine a 50-kilogram piece of metal is just falling down on you. So all the safety requires definitely much more fine-tuning. But I know that they landed already their first proof of concept with one of the biggest tier 2 automotive companies, ZF Group, also doing pick and place processes. And also, as I mentioned, they raised in their Series B 120 million recently. Then, last but not least, another Swiss company that is trying to make Boston Dynamics in Europe. So it's Anybotics from Zurich. They created this animal robot, which is X-proof and can go directly into the explosive zones instead of your workers. So just picture this. Every 20 minutes, this robot is collecting around 20 data points and immediately via API sending it to your superior systems where all the calculations and AI operations can be done upon those data. So it's not actually just about gathering data. Actually, it's about gathering data and then creating business insights straight from them without human intervention. So you have end-to-end data collection with inspection robots. Autonomous robot collecting the data, sending to the system, transforming into business insights, and you just got those insights. For example, overheating issues or value of some assets were too low or too much. Yeah. And let's also reinvent the wheel, or maybe it's better to say let's reinvent the arm. So you can also see here a C-React company from Germany got 25 million funding to do bin picking better at those logistics center. As you can see, you can do it with these robots, but you can also put figure probably $100K plus robot to do those tasks for you. So, and by the way, yesterday a company from Warsaw, No Magic, got 44 million funding for the same use case. For the singulation of objects. So yeah, Maria, I saw your hand raised. I know I'm already a little bit...
No worries, no worries. You have time, you have time.
Oh, super. So the last but not least, I wanted to show, I know that this robot every day is a little bit niche because everyone is talking about figure, but Uptronic, actually Texas-based company, also had the chance to put already the robot into Jabil, Mercedes-Benz factories, and they raised 350 million euro. They're also partnering with Google DeepMind when it comes to creating the reasoning part of the robots. So yeah, I just wanted to show you what are those hot types of companies, so then you can extrapolate from there and you can see what are those trends going on. And yeah, couple of insights, basically like build, learn, and scale. That's what we were talking. Focus on action, talk to your client, land the first client, and actually get the insights from them. With solving problems and delivering value and repeating it, it's very important also to have this early adopters program. So you actually have an industry insider that is telling you, right, the tech is cool, but we are tackling the wrong problem. This is very important, right? Yeah. So that's it. Thank you so much. And once again, thank you for your understanding that maybe it wasn't the top notch after my jet lag in California, but it was really great to attend. And thank you so much for the opportunity, Maria and the whole team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this fantastic presentation and kicking off, I think, this workshop in a really great way. I don't know if there are any questions from the audience themselves. If you do have any questions, feel free to add them in the Q&A. But since we do have 5 minutes remaining for a good Q&A, if we don't receive anything, I do have two questions already kind of prepared for you. So my first question was, given the rise of, specialized robots that we're seeing, specialized purpose robots that we're seeing, do you see a future where general purpose robots become more viable, or do you think that we'll keep on focusing on more niche kind of solutions instead?
Great. Very great question. Actually, I specifically didn't want to mention it during my presentation because I thought that maybe I can trigger someone asking that question, because it's a right question. So I believe the limitation we have right now on the general purpose robot side, it's not the mechanism. Okay, maybe a little bit the actuators game, but I want to go too deep into that. But it's the AI still that kind of limits us, right? That's what we are definitely on the journey to make those all new tasks very easily to be learned by robots, but we are not there yet. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. I believe it's easier right now to land and expand and also create a robotics company around the specific tasks. So it doesn't require so much capital to be thrown in, because these humanoids company, you can see the trend, how much money they are burning, right, on developing this general purpose trend. So I believe there are a couple of limitations from the AI and reasoning part yet, but I believe we're gonna be there. So for example, when you have the ratio of general purpose robots right now and the specific, when we go in time, it's gonna balance more. When the AI is gonna accelerate it, it's gonna be much more feasible and viable for these general robots actually to have a real use cases for them. But for now, I believe those niche, less trendy robots are actually adding more value, and the tangible value, right? Not the kind of vision value, but basically replacing people and making it more repeatable and more precise. So yeah. That's my opinion on that.
Interesting. I'm seeing also some questions come into the chat. So I'm seeing here, in your opinion, what's the next big thing in robotics for 2030?
Oh yeah. It's my wish. I hope I see the trends, but I would love to have like robots. So let's talk from the B2C and B2B perspective, right? So from the B2C perspective, I would love to have a robot assistant. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't need to be a humanoid. When it's going to be a robotics IoT sensors in your furniture, whether it's going to be an upgraded Roomba robot with a couple of arms and maybe capable of doing more stuff, I would just love to have kind of the, I don't know, Rosie the robots from the Jetsons. Maybe someone from the audience know this cleaning robot from the Jetsons. But kind of like this. This is my wish, and I believe there is a lot of cool companies trying to tackle that market. For example, if someone wants to, please Google Matic Robots, also from California. I'm actually visiting them next week. They are trying to create the next generation of vacuum cleaning robots. Maybe not necessarily going into humanoid space yet, because we know that it would be hard to land those at home yet. But yeah, so that's from the B2C perspective. From the B2B perspective, my wish is, because it's also combined with another question I see in the Q&A, and it's a great one, that by 2035, there will be a shortage of robotics engineers of approximately 500,000 worldwide. How can this be minimized? So for the robotics, we're going to come back. But what is also very important, that by 2030, so it's even in 5 years, McKinsey reported that there will be 1 million engineers missing, not robotics, but in general engineers missing. They will be just retired. And also 100,000 engineers will be retired in Germany alone. So I'm talking about this inspection robotics for all these verticals that are not the best place for a Gen Z engineer to go. And we know that Gen Z are not super fancy to go to oil and gas companies, to manufacturing companies, right? To energy sector companies. So I believe the inspection robots also have a very bright future. So because they are also taking out people from explosive areas. So it's not just making it better, actually it's saving lives. So that's also a strong use case for myself. So inspection robots from B2B and some cool tech in my house in coming years. Yeah.
Nice. Great. And I see there's two more questions. I don't know if you're also reading them.
Yeah.
But so one question is about what would you recommend to entrepreneurs who are still in the ideation stage in robotics in terms of figuring out the funding for taking first steps?
Very good one. So I would actually turn it into another question, like, who validated your idea? Like, is it just your wish that this robot is going to add a value on the market, or are you working with some insiders of some specific industries that told you, hey, it's a secret, but actually this can be automated? It is not yet, right? So I would say it basically starts from that. So either you can join an accelerator that has already some ideas ready and you can take them, and you know that they are validated by some funds because they are actually from the industry, or maybe you have an industry insider and you know that there is a huge problem that you want to tackle. So before any funding, I would really love to have like a really painy point, what the robot is gonna really change and how it's gonna solve a specific problem. For example, Brightpeak picked those robots because they noticed that obviously we can always say it's a labor shortage, right? But actually that was a very specific labor problem, that they couldn't land people to work more than a couple of months. So the rotation was so high that the cost of training new people was so high that they decided to create a robot that is going to work in these logistics simple tasks, and just having the supervisors, because when they look at the lifespan of working for a supervisor, it was a couple of years, but a regular employee was just 1 to 6 months, and it was unacceptable because you couldn't run operations with that. So I believe I would always start with the problem, never with a wish of myself that I'm going to create a robot A because I always wanted to create a robot A. The question is if market always wanted the robot A. So yeah, sorry for asking a question to a question and then extrapolating from that, but yeah, that's how we tackle it. Yeah.
Great. Let's see how much time we have. But I wanted maybe to touch upon also the question from Eugene. Hopefully I said the name correctly. But do you see a future in robots being part of assembly on installations like windows, carpentry, plastering, paintings, etc.?
Absolutely. Yep, I would also put them as the specific build robots. Typically, you're using out of the market components. I don't know, painting. Probably you're gonna take a cobot arm, put it on a mobile platform, right? Create a nice software that is controlling the spraying and painting process. And you can, if you want, I can also send you a couple of cool companies that are already doing it. Carpentry, great use case. I haven't seen that yet in Europe, but I've seen it in US. Basically, we know that the rooftops are slightly different in US than in Europe, and maybe it's easier to build it. So I also show that those companies are already using robotics technologies to prepare the rooftop. So I love these applications, like installations like Windows. Haven't seen it yet personally, maybe because the windows are super. I saw Windows cleaning applications with a lot of robots instead of people climbing the skyscrapers and cleaning. I didn't see like Windows mounting or installing. Perhaps it's another idea for you guys to start thinking about it. Carpentry, I show plastering and painting. I also show, so these robots are already there. Definitely not at scale, but those are already like proof of concept that are being there. For everyone that asked a question and we do not have time to answer it, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn and we're gonna take it from there. Absolutely no problem.
Yeah, that's a great call. I can also add your LinkedIn profile here in the chat so that everyone can reach out if they have additional questions.
Yeah.
But
Super.
Lukas, thank you very much. And thank you for sharing your expertise. I think it's great to hear from someone like you who does so much research. So yeah, thank you. And maybe we can move on. Unless, you have a call to action from your side as well, before heading on to the next section of the workshop.
Actually, it's not the very cozy call to action. Just guys, build cool robotics companies. You're in the right space. You're surrounded by the right companies that can support you from the financial perspective. So just build cool robotics technologies. Like, trust me, your kid's gonna be thankful to you in 20, 30 years. So that's it. Thank you so much, guys. And yeah, see you later. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I just added also your profile on the chat, so everyone feel free to connect with him and send out a message if you're interested in having a further conversation. But yeah, so now we'll move forward with someone else called Tommaso. He's also part of Plug and Play, and he will be discussing the trends in robotics and aviation in Europe. So thank you, Tommaso, for joining us today. I will actually let you share your screen as I stop mine, but thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Maria. Thanks for inviting me, and also thanks to Sido Bravery for organizing this. Yeah, let me share my screen. There we go. Cool. Hi, everybody. As Maria was saying, I'm Tommaso. I work for the Plug and Play office of Vienna in Austria, but I'm actually based in Valencia, Spain. And with the Vienna office, we are pretty much focused on, I would say, on a broader sense, in smart cities. But most of our corporate clients are either airports or airlines, and so we are pretty much focused on the aviation sides. And robotics is, as Lukas was saying, a really, let's say, hot topic right now in tech. And it's something that our corporate partners are asking more and more to us. They want to know what's happening in the space. They want to meet new companies. They see really a value in adopting robotics. And so I will try, first of all, in the first part of the presentation, to identify a little bit what are the trends in robotics and aviation together. And then I reserved a bit of space for talking about humanoid robots. And thanks, Lukas, for example, for bringing up the topic, because I will be happy to expand a little bit of what you have already said. Yeah. So firstly, this is an e-paper called Aviation 2.0, How Robotics is Redefining the Sky. It's an e-paper that we wrote a few months ago within the Vienna team. And we were trying to understand how robotics is shaping and redefining the aviation sector. And as I was saying, it's a hot topic. A lot of corporate partners have asked us to treat this topic. And I think it would be cool to start by sharing what are some key findings that we have found in studying and doing research for this paper. So first of all, robotics is transforming aviation. One of the biggest challenges that currently airports and airlines are facing is the labor shortages. And it is not only true for airports, of course, it's a trend that it's happening worldwide, but still airports especially are really suffering this. And a lot of data are suggesting that in a few years, airports will need way more workers that they have now, because there's these strong labor shortages. And studying, we realized that robotics is one of the solutions to this problem, and we see a wide range of applications for robotics within aviation. These are some examples. We see value in baggage handling, because of course these are some of these operational works are causing back pains and some various kind of problems to workers which are not willing anymore. It's not an appealing job to them anymore. So baggage handling is one of the first requests that we always hear from our corporate partners. It's a pain point that we have really seen, but of course we have a lot of other use cases. We have the FOD removal, in which you're basically removing the debris from the aprons where the planes are landing. We see employing robots in aircraft maintenance, in cleaning, helping people with reduced mobility. So the key point here is that we see really robotics as a key force to transform and reshape aviation. The second key finding that we have found is that investment in aviation robotics is growing. So we all know how the VC funding has gone up really a lot during 2021 and 2022, and how it then went down. But still, we believe that there is a tremendous momentum in robotics as well regarding the investment side. So of course, as I was saying, after 2021, the general funding in robotics has gone down. But I would say that robotics in general has shown resilience. And so the total fund amount that startups have received, it dropped, but it didn't drop as much as it did within the whole overall startup funding. And one particular trend that we have shown, and Lukas has touched on this point, is that vertical robots are on a tremendous momentum. So it still remains the biggest area in which VC money are flowing. With vertical robots, I mean robots with vertical use cases. So let's say conceived and created for fulfilling specific tasks. And while the overall funding has sharply declined, we can see it dropped from 18 billion to 7 billion in 2023. This vertical robotics category has really shown a momentum, and we have a compounded growth rate of 12% from 2019 to 2023. So despite the overall dropping, like vertical robots are still on a momentum. As Lukas was saying, they don't cost too much money. They can be deployed easily. They can fulfill a specific task. So like the path to adoption and the value is, let's say, it's easy to be shown to companies, and they're easy to adopt. So companies still see a value in adopting them because there is a huge value actually. The third trend that we see is startup and corporate collaboration. So we at Plug and Play, as you might know, we have some corporate clients, and one of the things that we do is introducing and making connections between corporates and startups. And some of the corporate clients within the aviation space are really like leading the innovation in the aviation sector. We have some partners like Vienna Airport and Aeroporti di Roma, and we're helping them to do a lot of POCs. And this is a cool example of a POC that we did with Aeroporti di Roma. This is Autonomy, is a startup which basically developed this Autobot, which is a autonomous robot, and this robot is used for bringing food and drinks and basically serve people waiting at the airport. And this is just an example on how really these connections that we can make between startups and companies can really bring value at the end of the day to the final user of this innovation and the beneficiary, the clients. Then, of course, while doing this e-paper, we did a robotic startup map, and we tried to identify which are the players that are really having an impact. I would say within the robotic space in general, but especially in this case also within the aviation sector. We decided you can take a screenshot, by the way, if you're interested in going deeper into these companies. But basically, we decided to divide these robots in 5 areas. The passenger interaction robots. So Wheel, for example, is a startup we know well. They do like assistance for person with remote mobility, but also I would say that autonomy could be in this section here. Also, we have operational support robots, maintenance and inspection, energy robotics, and Boston Dynamics were both mentioned by Lukas. We have humanoid robots as well as human augmentation robots, which are basically enhancing the way humans work. That was it. As for the aviation side, this second part, I wanted to spend some time to talk about humanoid robots. So doing research for this aviation paper, we realized that one of the hottest topics in robotics is definitely humanoid robot. We know that the space is buzzing, and every day a lot of news are coming out. We see new partnerships, we see VC money flowing around to companies, for example, Aptonic, as Lucas was mentioning, also Figure AI. We see partnerships. We see a lot of moving on. No, so there's a huge amount of things that are happening, and humanoid robots as a concept are quite simple. They are robots that they are mimicking the way humans are and interact with the real world. But I also think that it is beneficial to show a video to actually get how they work. And this is a video that came out recently. It was by Figure AI, which is showing Helix, the new visual language action model, and I think it's pretty cool. So let's maybe see a little bit of this, and then we can talk about it.
Hey, Figures, can you come here? Okay, I'd like to try something new. Even though this is the very first time that you've ever seen these items, I'd like you to use your new Helix AI and try to reason through where you think they belong in the scene, and then work together to put them away. Does that sound good?
I mean, that was pretty impressive. I don't think I have to explain to you why that was impressive. As I was saying, this was the humanoid robot O2 by Figure. And it is pretty impressive because really humanoid robots are starting in a way to resemble to us, and they're actually finding some real world applications. But as I was saying, this was a humanoid robots developed by Figure. And it is also interesting how first, we are seeing a lot of players coming up in the space, and it is really interesting also to see that these different players are trying to tackle the market from different angles. For example, as you have seen, Figure is really trying to play around the human-like interactions. No, so these humanoid robots really speaking with us like humans and acting as humans. But for example, 1X is a Norwegian company, is tackling the market from a different angle. They're the first, it is a fun fact that the first humanoid robot company that actually put a picture on their website of a humanoid robot hugging a person within a domestic environment. And this is suggesting to us that they see the application of the humanoid robots in homes in the B2C market. While Tesla, for example, is really trying to rely on humanoid robots to scale the production of cars to a mass production. Unity, for example, the only Chinese player which is in this slide, is a cost-effective robot, meaning that they are trying to play a lot around the cost efficiency. Their humanoid robot is probably the cheapest that you can find in the market. Another important player is, of course, Boston Dynamics, which is one of the more advanced right now in terms of mobility and capacity of the humanoid robot. And as I said multiple times, there is a tremendous momentum right now for humanoid robots, but it is interesting to understand really why there is this buzzing around this space, and identified 3 trends. The first one is the aging population. Let's face it, we are really getting old. The graph that you're seeing here is the share of people aged more than 65 within developed countries. And as you can see, towards 2050, this percentage is pretty much increasing, which is a problem, especially because first, companies are struggling to find workers, which is a problem, of course. And also, there will be more and more old people that we as a society, we will need to take care of. The second trend that I identified is the cost reductions. So the cost for industrial robots has been declining steadily since the 1990s towards now, which is, of course, helping companies to adopt robots more and more. And the third trend would identify these technological advancements. Of course, also Lukas touched upon these points, but we all know and are aware of how ChatGPT changed our life, how this AI thing is, like there's a lot of buzzing around that in each conversation now in tech and also like in real life, we're talking about AI, which is really shaping the world we live in. And there are specifically 3 advancements that AI are that happened in AI and they are boosting humanoid robots, which are computer vision, which really helps humanoid robot to perceive and understand like the world behind around them, no? What's it's surrounding them. There is the machine learning, which allows robots to automatically adapt and improve based on experience some new tasks. And of course, there's the NLP, the natural language processing, which is basically allowing humanoid robots to understand human language and to reply in human language. And so basically, these 3 advancements and the advancements in these fields are pretty much empowering humanoid robots and robots in general to become more and more similar to humans. And it is interesting to see what this implies for technology. Again, here we're talking about vertical robots. No, they're still strong. This, for example, is Gideon, is Trey, which is a product from our portfolio company Gideon, which I believe is going to speak after me. But great product, but still, like it was conceived and thought to be a vertical robot, meaning that it can accomplish, let's say, it has a specific task and it is conceived to perform that task. It goes on a warehouse and lifts load, and that's it. Again, a great product, but it is meant to be like more focused on a vertical use case. While with these advancements on AI and in general the advancement of the technology, we are switching from more vertical to horizontal use cases, meaning that now robots are not specifically conceived to perform a single task, but rather they are programmed to be general purpose robots. So this, for example, is Elus. Is EO from the company Elus, and it's, we could say, a robotic butler to be used in domestic environment. It can clean, it can take care of people, delivery, also help with security issues. So as we can see, we are switching from like conceived robots for a specific task to a general purpose, which is pretty interesting. And like doing this job, we are receiving a lot of information every day. And one of our, I would say, one of the things that we need to do as an organization and in general as people that work in tech is really try to find the signal among all these noise that we are receiving and see how these technologies can really bring benefits to people. And so we see really humanoid robots being adopted in a lot of use cases. We see them in manufacturing, for example, working in assembly lines alongside with humans. We see them in aviation, of course. I talked about that. We see a lot of use cases for the aviation, but we also see them, for example, in healthcare, assisting nurse or assisting clients in a retail environment. Yeah, and that's it. So this is a cool video. Actually, Lukas has shared a bit of it, so maybe I will skip it for the sake of time. But still, this is a super cool example on how humanoid robots can really be employed within a factory. This is a POC that BMW is doing with Figure AI, which is the very same company that we saw in the first video of my presentation. And seeing this video, we might believe that humanoid robots are already there and could be, deployed by company. But still, we know that the truth is that they can't really be deployed on a mass scale yet. And so it is, interesting to understand why this is happening, like what's hindering this mass adoption. And we identified 3 trends. First one is the technological complexity. So the hardware sometimes is still struggling, although it's really good now. Like we reached like a high, let's say, level of technological complexity and performance, but still like the hardware is struggling to some tasks, and especially it's struggling to answer to the real world unpredictability. Because, as humans, we can react pretty fast to what's happening around us. That is not really true for robots because of software and hardware. And the problem with software is that there is a latency. I mean, there are plenty of problems, of course, like also the software, like the artificial intelligence is not there yet. But one of the problems is that there is some latency in responding to this real world unpredictability. And so like humanoid robots are not still able to respond as quick as we do to changes outside. And so these raise some concerns about their utilization, and they're simply not there yet. Another thing that we see is the cost and scalability. We have been saying, of course, as a trend that industrial robots are decreasing in cost, and this is true. But still, humanoid robots are quite expensive because they are a really complex product. They put together artificial intelligence, hardware, biomechanic, and so like the cost is really high, especially for a small organization to adopt them. So also the mass production has not been economically viable yet. So there are still challenges on the production and cost side. And the third one I would say is the ethics and acceptance. So of course the technology is there, but like what will happen when some humanoid robots will actually replace human? No, what's the reaction with people? Like how are we planning to make humanoid robots interact with people? I see them as challenges. I also see them humans like overcoming these challenges, but still it's something that we have to do. And also it's something that companies need to plan because they need to have a strategy on how to integrate the humanoid robots within a corporate environment. So, like we at Plug and Play, we're seeing a lot of stuff happening. So we really think that we can provide value, then we absorb all the information that we have. And we also try to look into the future on what is going to happen. So we see 3 trends for the future. The first is industry partnership. So we see more partnerships happening across the ecosystem because it is a way for partners to accelerate the development and the adoption of robots. We see differentiation. As I was saying, it is interesting to see how different companies are trying to tackle the market from different sides. And so we see humanoid robots and let's say robotic companies in general to try to focus on specific niche or specific use cases, whether it's domestic environment, the industrial use, the industrial environment, and then we see a lot of value and spent by companies and like a lot of let's say attraction going in the direction of large behavior model. So just a few months ago, there was an important news coming out, which is that Boston Dynamics, which is one of the most important robotics companies, and nowadays has partnered with Toyota Research Institute to do research on this large behavioral model. There are basically enhanced LLMs, in a few words, in which we provide more context to robots in a way that they can simulate better the human behavior. And I'm happy to continue the conversation and to take any questions if there are. If you want to reach out to me, feel free to do a screenshot here and reach out to me either on LinkedIn or via my email. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tommaso, for this presentation and your side of the story. We can wait a couple of minutes if we receive any questions. If not, as we wait, I do have one question for you, which is, when do you think humanoid robots will be widely adopted, if they will be at all?
So as I was saying, there are still some challenges, of course, that we are facing. But honestly, personally, I think that the future of humanoid robots is radiant. They're going to be adopted for sure. Challenges are there, but I see them being overcame. And, it's hard to really make a predictions on when they will be adopted. But I would say that in the next 5-ish year, they will be for sure adopted for specific use cases by companies, such as the BMW example, for instance. And I would say that this is purely a prediction, but I would say that in the maybe 10 to 20, next 10 to 20 years, we might see them adopted more widely. Yeah, I would say sooner rather than later. So it's better to be prepared.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, you can't make a complete prediction on this. And then, so we have one question is, how do you see the role of quantum computing for robotics? If you have, the information to answer this.
Wow. Okay. That's a really tough question. I'm not super expert on quantum computing, but I mean, I could see them integrated in solving problem faster for sure. But like quantum computing it's tough because it's a research area which is still ongoing a lot, and there have been some advancements, but it's still quite early, so it's hard to really see like where it could cross robotics somehow. But for sure, I see it in boosting like robots in solving problem faster, the way they think. Yeah, and I see there's another question by Vlad, where to learn about humanoid robots. Well, that is easy. I mean, I think that the best way, or at least what I do, is searching for people who are knowledgeable in the space. I personally do my own research on LinkedIn and on the websites, and I try to be as updated as possible on what's happening in the space. I sign up to newsletters. I try to understand who are the key people and try to see what they write about the topic. I also try to really read the tech news every day, every morning, a few minutes, because humanoid robots is a thriving space, and there are plenty of news. So the best way is, like, I would say, being aware of what's happening around you, reading news, and also reading resources written by people who are super knowledgeable about the space.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Oh, Vlad says, I think it's a time to create an educational platform. I don't know if it's a question or a statement.
I mean, I would say that, internet, one of the cool things about the internet is that you have all the information of the world. And now with artificial intelligence, it's even easier to retrieve this information. I get what you mean maybe by saying like platform, maybe something more structured, but still I really believe that if someone is interested in a topic, you can find all the information you have there. But I don't know if I answered to your question, but yeah. Okay.
Great. Perfect. Thank you, Tommaso, again for
Thanks.
this presentation. It was great having you on. Again, feel free to reach out to Tommaso if you took a screenshot. If not, this recording is also going to be going on YouTube, so you can find his information here, and we can also attach his LinkedIn or email on this chat. But yeah, moving on to our next speaker, Elena. Happy to have you on today. Thank you for also waking up early. She is on a different time zone. So thank you very much for being part of this presentation with us. You will be talking about the state of advanced manufacturing. So feel free to share your screen and get started.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria, for having me here. I'm gonna try to share my screen. Is this where video settings? No.
Under share screen,
Yeah, here. Sorry, I'm used to. Okay, this one. Allow, and then should be able to. Okay, can you see my whole full screen?
yes.
Perfect, thank you. So let's start. If you have any questions, please add them on on the chat, or feel free to stop me. Quick brief introduction about myself. I'm Elena Stilles. I work as a ventures associate for Plug and Play. I've been working for Plug and Play for more than 2 years. My first 2 years, I was working at our EMEA office in Valencia, Spain. And like around 4 months ago, I got transferred to start working with the supply chain and advanced manufacturing team here in the US. And I'm currently based in Austin, Texas, where we have a strong focus in manufacturing and even like in semiconductors, because there's like a kind of like an overlap. So just to set up some expectations, today I'm not here to like not only to show you, you know, how venture capital firms are investing and like what is the medium-sized valuations of all these companies and startups that I will be sharing with you. I want to do this more dynamic, and I want you to learn about the new and latest technologies that are reshaping the manufacturing ecosystem, and also for you to learn how, you know, some employees can use them, can integrate it in what is the adoption of these new technologies using some case studies. So with that being said, as I want to start with some macroeconomic drivers or tailwinds that we are seeing in the market, and they kind of like explain the adoption. Obviously, there are so many macro drivers out there, but I want to highlight just like 4. The first one is the biggest challenge that more manufacturers are experiencing is the large gap of a skilled workforce. There are like 600,000 jobs unfilled, and there are some reports that said that between 2025 and 2033, there will be 1.8 million new employment, sorry, and half of them will be unfilled due to the lack of like you know, ability for companies to retain or attract new talent or skill the gap. So this is this only puts more pressure on existing teams that are trying, you know, to do more with fewer resources, and but also highlights the need of new technologies that can do upskilling, reskilling, or are able, you know, to attract and hire new talent. Then there is this tailwind on the government or public side, which is the manufacturing construction spending has significantly increased. And I'm going to show you here like a chart where you will be able to see how the US construction spending in manufacturing has significantly increased over the past 3 years since the Chip Science and Act signing into law. This is one of the most like there are like several like laws that have been approved recently, but this one is the one that had a very like a higher impact, let's say. And when I mean that the US construction spending has increased, it means like the government is like sending funding or offering funding to these large companies to build new fabs or redesign, modernize the existing ones. And that is a great opportunity for all these companies to start thinking about how I can make my fab more appealing for my employees, or make them more or how can I automate and make them more like digital, let's say. So that's another trend that we are seeing. Oh, sorry. And the good thing is like 75% of all the manufacturers that we have interviewed, they are adopting. I don't know if you can see me, or how can I move this? Okay, perfect now. Sorry. So 70% of the manufacturers that we have interviewed, they are innovating somehow. It could be just like digitalizing some of their processes. That's like it could be using some data analytic tools and or IoT. But it's not only like a game for large companies. Also, we are seeing more, at least at Plug and Play, how medium-sized companies are starting like to approach us and say, how can I start interacting or playing or working with the startups, right? To become more competitive and become more efficient. So all these things, if you put all these things together, what it means is like, okay, there are some challenges out there, but there's some early signs of adoption, not only for large, but also for medium-sized companies. So it's definitely, and like government is giving funding to some companies, and that lowers the risk for investors to start investing in companies. So it's a great time to start innovating, and the market is moving faster than ever. So I don't know. Okay, so with that being said, we have built this, my colleague Shay, Brian, who is based in Arizona, and I, we have created this advanced manufacturing report where we have actively monitored 322 startups. In a period of time of 12 years, they have raised $9.1 billion in funding. The median age is 5 years, and we have invested in 19 startups over those 322. Well, probably 20. There's one that's still like a legal process, but it's being approved at least. So all these like 322 startups, we have grouped them into 4 main or big categories, which are 3D printing, labor optimization, machine optimization, and process optimization. Today I won't be talking about like 3D printing because I don't feel like this is like relevant for the audience. But if anyone has any questions about 3D printing, where do I see the next, wave of technologies, or like where is the adoption here? Where are like the startups innovating and companies using? Let me know. But I will focus today on labor, machine, and process. So before jumping into like logos and startup names, I want to talk about the main difference between maturing technologies and emerging technologies. So maturing technologies are all these technologies that have passed early stages of development. So that means that you can find on these subcategories like worker safety and communication, digital twins, quality control, or predictive maintenance. You will be able to find some startups that have graduated, and maybe maybe no, they raised more than 50 million in funding. They are also in the market for a few years, but all this information from a corporate perspective, what it means is like when corporates want to start innovate, they need to ask 2 questions, like where are my needs, but also what is the approach that I want to take when innovating? Do I want to follow on a more traditional approach? Do I want to take risk, or do I want to follow like a non-traditional approach and take the risk? So maturing markets or technologies means that those are like good subcategories for you if you don't want to take the risk, and if you just want to innovate right away. Here in these subcategories, you will find some major players that are well funded and well established. What that means is like you cannot negotiate the price, you cannot ask for some customizations, but there's no risk. You can start working with these companies right away. So this is the takeaway from here. And then emerging markets means all these like subcategories that we are seeing that over the past 2 years, they have received more momentum. And that's because basically some of the macro drivers that I was mentioning before. So for example, all these like worker scheduling tools, these are really, really important and relevant right now for basically because companies are not able to retain talent. So there's a way, to retain talent through this worker or flexible worker scheduling tools. Then IoT cybersecurity. So since basically like the increase in software adoption matched with an explosion in embedded devices, startup have been addressing asset vulnerabilities. So IoT is, having or playing a key role here. And then robotics, we don't talk about like traditional arms that do the pick and place. We are talking more about robotic companies such as cobots. Cobots are those traditional pick and place robotic arms, but they don't use fences, so a human can work along with them. The robotic arm, it's able to understand when a human is close or next to them, and it can like reduce the motion, or it can like stop, so nothing can happen. It's safe. But also here I'm talking about humanoids and all these like AMR robotics. So with these categories, corporates can basically have power to negotiate price and to also ask for somehow of customization on the product. But definitely they need to think that they probably need to go and work on a POC before jumping into a commercial agreement. And with that being said, I'm going to start with the first big category, which is labor optimization. So despite advancements in automation, manufacturing faces a severe skilled labor shortage. As I said, 3 million jobs projected by 2023, and nearly half potentially going to be unfilled. That's what some recent studies show. And solutions that enhance like workforce productivity, close skill gaps, and optimize existing labor are increasingly vital. Reskilling platforms and human-machine interfaces are unlocking workforce potential and increasing the adoption speed of advanced autonomous systems in the workplace. Sorry. So what we are seeing here, so as I said, like all these companies that are able to attract and retain talent, like this company Wilja, just so you know, like the companies with the purple tick means that are portfolio companies for plug and play. So Wilja is a portfolio company. They are offering this software where they can offer like flexible schedule shifts to their employees, so you don't have to be stick to one single shift, or you don't have to go through this like rotational model. You can have like something that is a stick or it's fixed, and then you can like pick or choose the ones that that are more like can balance better balance your personal and professional life. So that's what Wilja do, but also they offer this on-demand pool of workers. So there are like some facilities or companies that they have some periods of time where they are more busy when it comes to the production. So instead of like hiring a part-time or full-time employee, they can hire a person for that specific period of time. And that's a way to show that a potential future employee how they work and their conditions, and then attract more new talent. Here on this category, as I said, AI is also like, helping companies or helping employees to become more efficient in what they do. So that is a communication company that basically you can use, and you can see what are your top priorities to work on every single day. So you don't have to do that thinking or reasoning process before every single day. You just go and they tell you this is what you need to do, and this is the way that you need to do it. So very efficient. And then another company that I want to talk to you and I want to play this video is Verb Motion. They are not only like boosting productivity, but also helping employees to feel safer at their jobs. So that's another way to retain people. They are building this exosuite that can suit up in like less than a minute. They have, well, the wearable tech has two batteries that can last up to 12 hours. So an entire shift work. And then they have this really cool technology that is you will see the assistive lifting force that offload up to 40% of every like heavy item that they are lifting or holding, like a heavy box. Then you can see here that they have two different sizes, which is nice to have, right? And then the cool thing, like something that stands out for me, is like they have 3 sensors, so they gathers real-time data, and then they can provide insights to the company on information like what are the business units or employees that you should be paying more attention. And then they offer some coaching programs with videos or tutorials on how you can improve your precision to reduce injury risks, but also to keep boosting like the productivity of the employees. And this is a case study, real case study between a corporation and a startup. So Europart is a leading partner for commercial vehicle workshops at operators of like trailer, vans, and buses in Europe. The company has more than 1,700 employees across 28 countries. Basically, Europart realized that they were using the same traditional systems to communicate what each employee should be working on every single day between different business units and between like different locations. So they were using like bulletin boards. So something like super like traditional, I will say. So basically they decided to change that and work with Flip. Flip is like the Slack, but for industrial companies. Through this app, you can like chat with other employees. You can receive real-time task assignations. You can also receive updates or general news that could be relevant for you. But also it's like a one-stop shop for you to get all your pay slips and communicate with HR as well. So basically what this like Europart, after 6 months of this deployment, they did an interview to all these employees, and 75% stated that they were more satisfied within the company because of this new communication tool. And just fun fact, yesterday I was talking with an industrial big company doing more than 11 billion in revenue, and I was asking them like, did you have this problem? And they were like, yeah, we didn't have any communication tool until like a year ago. So even though, there are like some medium-sized and small companies that they don't even have like a Slack or something to communicate properly. So yeah, this problem is still there. Then the second category is machine optimization. So this is everything that is related with machine. So traditional predictive maintenance primarily relied on historical data analysis and required technical expertise to interpret reactive triggers. So limited data sources, those constraints, ROI, and scalability are some of the biggest problems here. So in the last decade, startups have addressed the challenges with compile solutions integrating sensor data, IoT, and asset management tools. But today, AI-powered startups leveraging like LLMs and machine learning models go beyond static dashboards, and they are able to autonomous like tracking all this information, doing multi-sensor data fusion, and do also like advanced forecasting. So I want to highlight like another company. It's not a portfolio, but we are very good friends with them. Augury, they just raised like a couple of weeks ago 75 million in funding, and they are like unicorns, so they are valued more than $1 billion. And basically what they do is like they work with major like large companies. I would say that this is like a kind of like a predictive maintenance maturing technology, but obviously they are always like developing new features and adopting AI to become more accurate on the information that they offer to their employees. So they work with shop floor employees and workers. They gather data from all these sensors and machines to basically, I'm going to show you here. They show you basically the timeline, but they also like set up alarms, real-time alerts when something is going wrong in a machine, something is happening, and they give you some recommended actions on what to do. They also give you like a company summary here where you can see the numbers of failures that has happened like over the week and like the facility comparison. Then you can check also the machine health status, and something really nice is like they provide you with a list of all these machines and which ones you should be prioritizing when it comes to do the checkings and the predictive maintenance. Then I will say that the next wave of startups that we will see in the market are those that are using AI agents for industrial applications. So not only will be able to give you recommendations as such this company is doing, but it will be able to act or take action without human intervention. So the example that I like to give here is like, for some of you that are using Gmail, you must know about Gemini. Gemini is like the ChatGPT, but from Google. So now if you want to send an email, you are able to see some recommended or optional potential answers that you can give. And those have been written by Gemini, right? So you have the power to make a decision on which one will you like to use, or if you want to modify some information. But imagine the next step will be this AI agent making that final decision for you. So you don't even need to make that, send that email. So obviously there's like a risk here. And like they are testing this in like some scenarios when they are simulating data, or they are just like the risk is super low. So probably with these companies, no, not probably. With these companies, you need to work on a POC for few months, and try to test in like low risk environments. And then from that, like they will be gaining more, they will be trained, they will understand how you want to work. And then potentially in the future, you will be able to deploy these in like your day-to-day. So that's what Composable, this company here, the green one, is doing, and they are doing pretty well. And then the last company that I want to talk to you about is this Queen, the last one. So we've been talking about, okay, there's this platform that gives me recommendations on the actions that I need to take to do my predictive maintenance process. But is there any tool that can help me while I'm checking and doing the visual inspection? So this is where Squint is taking the lead, basically. This company, it's a company that offers an augmented reality tool that digitalize all these SOPs, so standard operations procedures. So you can operators, the way that it work with the Squint is like they use their phones. With their phones, they point the machine that they want to operate or interact with. It can be just like, how can I turn on this machine, or but also it can be predictive maintenance for the machine. So you can point the camera of your phone to the machine, and then you will see on your phone like the step-by-step guide on what you need to do with that machine to do all the visual inspection and the checking for that machine. So logging maintenance or any other like machine tasks related. So basically in 2023, Colgate decided to partner with Squint, not because they had any problem or they were struggling with something. It was more because they wanted to enhance shop floor workers' experience. So they start like working with the Squint, and they do the first pilot in one of the biggest facility that they have in Mexico, if I'm not wrong. So some early like results show that the completion time for every task with the machine, it was reduced like 50%, which is amazing, because if like there is like one quality operator that can can do like quality inspection in like 3 machines per day, so this doubled in the amount of like machines that they can inspect. And then also to when it comes to onboard new operators, it also reduces the time, because they don't have to like use all these like manual procedures to check how to work, how to interact with the machine, the step by step, and all the stuff. So or they don't even have to rely on experienced staff. They don't have to ask any questions, because they have everything on his or her phone. So yeah, this is like really cool, super simple. From a corporate perspective, I will say that the most appealing thing is like they don't have to buy any external hardware. So yeah, employees can use their own tablets or phones. And then the last category is process optimization. So this is everything that is related with how you can optimize your workflow from production to logistics. So here's where like we are seeing how digital twins and live data insights are revolutionizing process optimizations by giving manufacturers a full holistic view of operations in the decision-making process. So startups are continuing like to push the boundaries of digital twins for facilities, layout enabling like more precise simulation and planning production process through before breaking into the real production or ground construction. So much like recent innovations in machine learning optimizations, modern LLMs are being implemented in various stages of the process to improve infrastructure and industrial flow, and allowing for a better control, reduce waste, and faster production cycles. So what I'm trying to say here is like process optimizations are all these companies that you can interact and ask, like, how can I reduce my waste? How can I reduce my production cycles? Or how can I speed up my production process, while maintaining quality? So I'm going to talk about 2 different startups here. I want to talk about Base2. Base2 is a company designed to be used by engineers and scientists that want to use AI to optimize their production process. Basically, they are only working right now with chemical manufacturing companies. And the way that it works is like they gather data, they ingest data, external and internal resources with different formats. It could be ERP information or spreadsheets, and then clean, filter, and structure all that data to be ready for analysis. And then these engineers or the scientists, they basically work with the platform to design and deploy models that can simulate these scenarios. So you can see the impact of like some potential changes that you want to do before you really do it. So what does it mean is like if you want to, so for example, an example would be, so you want to change the size of the equipment at your facility, or you want to change the raw materials that you are using for production. So instead of like changing your supplier and just like test, you can ask the platform, okay, what it will be the impact if I do these changes? Like what, and not only like the impact, like I will be able to improve the number, like my production, the number of like products that I will be delivering, or while maintaining my quality. And if so, like what are the resources in terms of like employees, time, and money that I will need to make those changes? So you can evaluate like quickly if that makes sense or not. And also you can do the other way around. You can ask them like, I want to lower my power usage in this specific process or part of the production cycle. So like based on what am I doing and the resources that I do have, what should I be changing? So this is Base2. They are getting a lot of traction and momentum. And yeah. And then another one is Clario. So Clario is a company that, well, we just invested in this company. Still, I think, if I'm not wrong, legal phases. So, but yeah, it's a really like exciting company. They are building a digital twin, not only for a specific, part or entire machine, is for the entire warehouse. So it's very useful for inventory management. Like inventory management traditionally has been done like basically counting inventory manually or doing scan barcode. So with this company, let me play a video for you. You can use your phone or any drone to scan the entire warehouse. So you will be able to get all the data that you need, like where like all the items that you have, where are they located, and basically this real-time information allows you to get some real-time alerts or information on okay, this item has been misplaced, or you are running out of inventory here, or maybe you should, like, there's a way to optimize the space here because all these items that you are selling faster or you need before, they are at the end of the floor, let's say, or the warehouse. So really cool company, because we have seen a lot of like computer vision companies, but usually you need like to buy some extra hardware. And here you can use your own phone, or if you have a drone, that's also like useful. And then this startup highlight that I want to highlight for you, it's between HPE and Relimetrics. So just to give you so this is something pretty similar to what Clario is doing, but they are using, like a tablet that you need to buy, and you need to onboard all these machines. They are doing like quality inspection. So basically HPE, sorry, that is one of the leading manufacturing companies that is selling servers, wanted to automate the server assembly quality assurance, which was being done like manually by quality operators. This is like labor intensive because it was prone to error due to the human A fatigue and the inability of quality operators to catch critical defects. So to address these concerns, HPE partnered with Relimetrics to automate the end-of-line quality inspections at its servers assembly lines. So in just like a few months, of implementations, they were able to see how the defect detection accuracy was 99.9%. They were also able to inspect 80 server components in just like 40 seconds. They reduced the quality audits cost by 50%. And then they were also to save $500,000 per year per manufacturing line for companies that are producing more than 3,000 servers per month. So this is the last case study that I want to talk to you about. And I don't know if there's anything else. Yeah. And just to finalize, I want to show you here like some of our plug and play investments in manufacturing tech. So all these companies are portfolio companies that we're working with. I didn't highlight anything about robotics today because my colleague was covering that previously, but I will say like Maven, it's a humanoid company on the hardware that we recently invested in. You won't find a lot of information on the website, but they are building this really cool humanoid for industrial applications. And yeah, that's it. Okay, we'll leave
Great.
this one.
Thank you so much for the presentation. We actually have received 2 questions if you'd like to take them up
Yeah, sure.
from the participants. So the first one is, do you see big differences between the European and the US markets? And do you have any tips and tricks about the differences to keep in mind?
Yeah. Good question. So I see like, to be honest, I don't see like founders being more experienced here or less experienced in Europe. I feel like the US founders, they are moving faster. That's what I will say. Maybe because they have like easiest access to all these like companies and corporations, and like corporates here, they have like a bigger, like more budget to start working with the startups. So that's why startups here, they sometimes they need to move fast. And Europe, like we don't see like that amount of like corporations, you know, with that budget to start investing or to start working with startups. And that's why like for the startups it takes longer to gain some kind of traction. But to be honest, like I met startups in the humanoid and robotic space, for example, in Europe. One is named Mimic. They are based in Germany. They are building just like the hand for the robotic arm, but they are like it's the most precise thing that or accurate thing that I've seen in the robotic space, more than the arm of a humanoid, because they are able to move every single finger like a human. And this is a European company. So the only problem is like sometimes they struggle because they have some demand here in the US market, but in order to work with some American or US companies, they need to have a subsidiary here. So the difference, I would say, that is the time to market for the companies. Yeah.
Sorry, I was talking and I was on mute, but thank you. And then we have one last question saying, Irina, based on your experience, do you see specific areas where corporates are interested in robotic solutions, especially for collaboration with startups, which I think here is where Plug and Play really knows about this.
Totally. So we are seeing with our, I cannot say names, but corporate partners and LPs, like basically an LP is a limited partner that invests in our fund. They are all super interested in humanoids. Really, it's like the hot topic right now. So the problem is like they don't want to invest, or they don't want to work with these companies like Figure AI, some of them, because it's like so expensive, and they know that there will be more players in the market, and at some point, you know, pricing will be some of the key advantages of some startups. Like we are already seeing, there's a company here in Austin named Argo Mechatronics. It's a human. They came out from stealth mode 4 or 5 months ago, and they can build like a humanoid with arms and legs and everything. But the first product is just like there's no legs. It's only like a mobile platform, and then they have the arms, because not you know, like not all the companies need like a full humanoid. Maybe they only need like the arms part of the like the upper body instead of like the legs. And so they are super competitive in terms of price. We will see more and more like companies becoming more competitive and offering humanoids in a like cheaper than the big players that we all know. So we are seeing like an interest out there of exploring all these like humanoids that are coming out from stealth mode. And definitely like probably they have a better like yeah, better prices or better performance. So that's the area of interest that we are seeing in the robotic space. See.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you for taking the time to present your part of the story on this topic. It was very interesting. So yeah, I don't know if there's any call to action you'd like to give, Elena, from your side. If anyone wants to contact you, where they should get in touch. Maybe I can share also your email address or your LinkedIn, so people can get in touch with you.
Okay, so I'm writing my email, the PMP email for you, so you can reach out to me using the email. You can also like follow me or add me on LinkedIn. I will be more than happy to chat with anyone here and answer any potential questions. I'm not a mega expert here. I just joined like the supply chain and advanced manufacturing like 4 or 5 months ago, but it's a very interesting space. So as Tommaso was saying, like if you are interested in the topic, try to subscribe to some newsletters. There are some really nice podcasts that I can share with you. Like you can send me an email and say, Elena, can you send me like newsletters or podcasts that you are listening to? And I will be happy to share all of that information with you. That's where I was like, that's where you really like learn and understand like some real case studies. So that will be, yeah, the call to actions.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I think now is a great point to, as I mentioned, we were going to do a short break. So we can be back in 7 minutes. We ran 3 minutes over time, but that's completely fine. So yeah, let's take a quick break and get back in 7 minutes, and we'll have Dario come in from Gideon and tell us his case study from Gideon. So thank you, and we'll be back.
Thank you, Maria.
I'll give us 1 more minute to make sure that everyone's here. If you want to, send a message on the chat to say that you're active and here with us so that we're aware and we can keep on going. Hi, Gordon. Nice to see you.
Maria, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
And that's good. I'm just doing an audio check.
Good. All right, so hopefully everyone's here. We're gonna move on to our next speaker, which is Dario. So Dario comes from Gideon Bros, which is actually one of the companies that, as Plug and Play mentioned, we have worked with as well. So yeah, Dario, great to have you on today, and very excited to hear your side of the story. Feel free to share your screen once you're ready, so we can get started.
Sounds good. Thank you, Maria, and thanks everyone for being here. The standard first thing, let me share my screen and let me know if you can see it, Maria, quickly.
Yep, I can see it.
Excellent, excellent. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for attending. The purpose of this conversation today is to just provide some of the insight into Gideon's journey, what we did, what we learned, and what are some of the key lessons that we want to pass on to new founders, especially the ones that are aiming to start a company in robotics. I've been a part of Gideon for the last 7.5 years, since inception, and I've seen a lot of things happen. So hopefully I'll be able to pass some of those learnings to you throughout this presentation. So we'll start by just saying something about Gideon. And the way I envisage this presentation is, at every slide, we'll create a stop at the end of the slide and then just say one key lesson that I think is valuable from Gideon's perspective and hopefully from a general perspective to other potential companies and startups in robotics. Gideon was founded in 2017, is based out of Croatia. So we are based in Europe and doing robotics. And it was founded by 4 co-founders with various different backgrounds. They decided to focus on a problem that they were seeing, or the problem that they were learning about in logistics and manufacturing. And it was related to autonomous mobile robots and the transfer of goods inside those warehouses, manufacturing facilities. So they started this with a vision that a small team can do great things, like the story of Gideon from the Bible. And basically, if you're not familiar with the story, it's a leader who had a very small army and they defeated a much larger army. So that's the story behind Gideon. The picture here, you can see a part of the team. It's a couple of years old. But key point here and key lesson, I think it's very important to emphasize 4 co-founders. So imagine this, you have multiple people working on the same thing. They're very focused. Each one has specific insights into the industry, specific knowledge about the application, and skill sets that they can apply to make this company successful. So that's one of the first key learnings that we wanted to share. Multiple founders tends to help companies succeed. And especially if they have different skill set, complementary skill set. But what is important is sharing the same values, and then assembling a strong team of believers around those values. So that's the first lesson that we want to cover. For us, as started in Croatia in 2017, did some work in Croatia as well, but we've learned that the US, like in the previous presentation, the US is a little bit more open to new technologies and innovation. They tend to move faster. For us as a robotics startup, speed is everything. We have to move quickly in order to secure those first pilots, in order to secure first customers and contracts. So what we did in 2020, well, that was not the ideal year to do it, but it happened nonetheless. We opened a subsidiary in the US and started doing business in the US. It took us a while to really get the hold of it and really start doing those pilots and doing those customer projects, because it was also related to a change in the application we did, which I will talk about later. But basically now we're focusing on two main markets, you can say it, North American market, including the US and Canadian market, and also the UK. The reason why UK is on this map is because of the similarities in the application that we are solving between the UK, Canada, and the US. The key lesson here is listen and pay attention to where the needs are and who is pulling versus who are we pushing. We had a feeling that we are constantly pushing something here in Croatia. And when we went to the US, now we have a feeling that everybody's pulling. And that's much better if you want to secure initial pilots and initial contracts. So how do we choose our application? I still haven't talked about the application that we are doing. You saw it in the intro slide, automating loading and unloading. So basically what we looked at is the warehousing in general is consistent of several different applications, and we can specify, let's say, three main applications: trailer loading and unloading, put away, replenishment, and order fulfillment. Those three applications are, some of them are untapped fully, and some of them are huge opportunities. So what we did is did some research and understood that the trailer loading and unloading only in the US is a $45 billion market. If we were to look at all of the operation, maybe not everything is automatable, maybe we cannot automate everything, but $45 billion, if we can automate half of it, it's still a big, big market. So that's how we decided to go into this. And the key lesson here, again, listen. Our first customers actually pointed us in the direction of trailer loading and unloading market. We were not aware of this gap. We were not aware that there are no solutions out there that solve this. So as we were listening to our key customers and early partners, we decided to pivot in 2020, started developing a new solution so that we can go to market in 2023 and really start selling trailer loading and unloading solutions. So the key lesson, listen to your customers. They know about their applications probably better than we do. And also, the market needs to be big enough for anyone to care, especially investors. I think that's also one of the key learnings here. Going to the product evolution, when we talked with Maria and the team here, what are the lessons that we wanted to share? We thought that it would be helpful to share our product evolution for you to get a feeling of how it evolved throughout the years. And I won't be able to cover everything in all the 7.5 years in just a couple of minutes. But for you to understand how we decided to get to trailer loading and unloading, I'll show you what we started building initially. When we started Gideon, we started building sensors because we realized there are actually no sensors available on the market that will serve our application. Then we started developing AI solutions to help us, again, in the applications that we were operating in. We were focused on detecting objects, obstacles, especially in warehouse and manufacturing environments. It helps us understand the environment on a much deeper level. And then we started developing all the backbone algorithms for robotics. If you're familiar with any kind of mobile robotics, this is a common theme. You need to have a localization algorithm to be able to localize in an environment. You need to be able to navigate from one point to the other. You need to be able to coordinate the fleet of robots if you're operating a fleet. And then there has to be a warehouse execution layer that we communicate with customers' systems. So as we started building this portfolio of software solutions, for robotics, you cannot just pick and choose, you need everything. For software, you really need everything to be able to do the application that you want to do. So when we built this, with that in mind, the key lesson that we learned here is having a valuable IP really helps from an investment perspective, but also from differentiation perspective when it comes to securing new customers and making sure that we have our place in the market. So we developed all this technology and we decided to focus on the first application, A2B transport, with the robots that you can see on this slide. Basically, a pallet will be placed on top of the robot and we would transfer it to another part of the warehouse. It was good. It went well. We had successful deployments, but what we realized based on, again, customer feedback is that this market has a limit. It has to be a very modular solution. It changes from facility to facility. There are so many competitors out there that doing the same application. And all of the software that you saw on the previous slide, everything that we've been building, basically we could not show our differentiation with this hardware. And that's one of the hard part about robotics. You have to marry hardware and software. It has to work really well and it has to show the differentiation. Basically, the differentiation we had on the software side was not visible on the hardware side and on the application side. So, key lesson, be honest with yourself. If something is not going well or you think this is not the future that you're hoping to build, pivot. Pivot based on the customer feedback. And this is what we did. In 2020, we started building our trailer loading and unloading solution. Believe it or not, this was our first forklift. It doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be cool. We wanted to prove a point. We can build an autonomous forklift. This is what we did to prove that we can do it. Key lesson, resourcefulness is key, especially in robotics startups. We need to be highly creative in solving problems, and it will not be ideal from the first, second, or third try, but there has to be an incremental improvement in every step. So from the previous slide to this is what we have today. We call it trailer loading and unloading solution, and we have two different versions. We call it a medium duty on the left side and heavy duty on the right side. So from the forklift that you saw on the previous slide to this, it took us, I would say, probably a year to get to the right one, the heavy duty one, and then an additional year and a half to get the medium duty one. So in operation, it looks like this. We're automating the unloading bay. There are no people around. There is someone who will start the mission, but after that, they're free to go. Maybe there will be some interventions. We can quickly resolve it, and the robot can continue. Key lesson, again, go to customer sites as soon as possible. As soon as you have some kind of an MVP, something that can prove a little bit of value, go to customer sites. Because the lessons you'll learn out there on the field are not possible to be learned in your facility. And we learned that the hard way. We wanted to position everything perfect way. We wanted to make sure everything's perfect before we go to the customer, to their site, and really deliver the solution. Once we were there, nothing was the same. Everything changed. The playing field changed. And now we had to learn a ton of new lessons and iterate very quickly to adapt to this new reality. So as soon as possible, go to the customer site and really experience this real life implementation. I think that's key. One additional lesson, always record videos. You'll need it for other customer conversations. What happens in the background, however, this is what happens in the background. You have probably you're interested in technology, so I wanted to include this as well. What's the system that we have, the vision system that we have, is able to recognize all the different pallet types, their positions and orientations in 3D world in real time with certainty, some certainty. And we can also differentiate between 30 different classes of objects that we use or encounter in warehousing and manufacturing. The reason I included also this video is additional key lesson. Early on in your journey, customers will ask for other references, and you may not be able to provide those references. Of course, we all need to start somewhere. So videos like this can help very much with early adopters. Find those early adopters, find those people that are very passionate about technology. Go to those companies first. They will help you create those references that you will need to unlock the majority of the market. So key lessons learned, additional lessons. Hardware is hard. I will just quickly go through this. Hardware is hard and very costly because in terms of time and funds, you need time to procure hardware. You need the time to assemble hardware, to design it. Once it's designed, it has to be tested. Once it's tested, you can deploy it at the customer environment. If something is wrong, you need to pull it back or go to the customer environment. You cannot simply update it remotely. You need to go there. So be careful of how you design the system and iterate. Then make sure you understand the customer pain points in detail. And again, we thought we understand customer pain points, but once we got on site, we learned a ton and really understood that we don't know anything. So it's good to go out there to multiple customers and get the average and not just to tie yourself to a single customer or a single industry. At least that was important for us because we're aiming to unlock the majority of the market. Create an MVP that's guided by that deep knowledge of the application and focus on the key value drivers first. In the example of trailer loading and unloading, we can do scanning, we can do conveyor integrations, we can do warehouse management system integrations. But what is the key value driver here in this application? It's moving the pallet from the trailer to the staging area. So this is what we have to do first, and then iterate on that. So identify what's a necessity and what's the key value driver, and then build on top of that. Then find paying customers where you can provide some value with that minimum functionality, use that feedback, identify gaps in understanding of the technology and application, iterate, apply those findings, iterate. That's how we are doing it right now. And as soon as we started applying this, it became a lot easier. And I think one of the biggest things that we had to work on is go to the customer, go on site and learn in real life. Going further, and I have two more just key lessons to share, and its importance of partnerships and strategic and commercial partnerships. We've had the privilege of working with people from TICO, Toyota Industries Corporation. They have announced a strategic partnership with Gideon. And why is that important? Look at our application. It's trailer loading and unloading. We're not a forklift manufacturer. If we were to manufacture forklifts, it would take us years and years to get to market. So for us, one of the key things was to secure this strategic partnership with someone who excels in hardware. There is no company out there that does better forklifts than Toyota. And we believe that there is no better company out there for trailer loading and unloading and some other applications in the future than Gideon. So why not combine the two? That's one of the key lessons. Find those partners with complementary strengths, very similar to co-founders. And what is important, again, values and goals have to be aligned. For the end lesson and key lesson at the end, it's worth to be repeated. Success starts with people. You need to focus on people and find those people that will help drive this company forward. Maybe you are a solopreneurship story in the beginning. That's fine. As you scale, you'll need to have other people that will help you build this. That's why I'm repeating this. That's why what we learned as well, it really starts with the people. And with those people, we can then build the technology, serve our customers, and unlock huge opportunities out there on the market. And with that, I'm finished with my presentation. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dario. I think it's great to see, the startup side of the story, and it's really nice to hear, your learnings from this experience. I actually already see a question here for you. So it says, Dario, this is really important to make a pivot based on jobs to be done and other metrics. I created my first service humanoid robot in 2018, and that was hard. How do you see how do you see the future trends?
Future trends. We talked a lot about future trends. It really depends where you want to focus your efforts on. I'll give you an example. We decided to focus on logistics and manufacturing. Why? Because we saw that there is a huge opportunity in those industries in the next X years. There may be a niche application inside oil and gas industry, inside a paper and pulp industry that I'm not aware of. What we can say with certainty that all of the jobs that are tedious, repetitive, and easy to automate will be automated. If you're interested in specifics, there are companies out there like DHL, PepsiCo, that post those things publicly. There is a DHL technology radar. You can go on their site and see exactly the solutions and technologies they're looking for in the next X years. So my summarized answer is future trend is automation. If you can find a problem that can be automated with the current state of technology to a point where it can provide a customer saving, that's all you need. It's a very high level explanation, but finding where the value is key. For us, the return on investments and values for the customer initially were on the edge. We never had a really, really good business case. Once we pivoted, we started understanding where the value lies. And you will learn a lot from the customer.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dario, and thank you for your wise words. Thank you for your side of the presentation. I know we are a little bit also pressed on time for Gordon's side of the presentation, but again, appreciate your help and presentation. And if you have any call to action, if you want to share any contact details with the participants here, feel free to do so in the chat. But yeah, I can also move it on now to Gordon. So yeah, if you're with us, there we go. Thank you, Dario.
Can you see my presentation?
We can see your desktop. Now we see your presenter side of the presentation.
Presenter, the correct one. Okay, not the navigator.
Well, no, the navigator.
Oh. Okay. Now let's see how to switch it. Oops. Okay, let's see. Navigator?
Yeah, still can see both slides.
Okay. Look. I'm just trying to work out how to switch this. How about that?
Perfect. Works.
Okay. Hello. Good afternoon. Thanks, Maria, for inviting me to talk about InTouch Robotics. So I'm Gordon Cheng. So we started InTouch Robotics a few years ago to address a particular issue about safety in robotics. So the presentation will go along the line that I'll introduce you a little bit about InTouch Robotics, and then I want to discuss something about fundraising using the EU mechanism for gaining some of the support from the EU Commission. And I'll give you some of the experience how we actually end up in this place. Okay, so InTouch Robotics started a few years ago. It's based from a university research project, and it spun out a couple of years ago into a company that provides something called robot e-skin technology, which allow robot to interact with the world. And also that we want to make all robots safe, easy to install and use, just by providing what we call tactile intelligence. So it's another level of artificial intelligence AI that we wanted to possess the robot with. And the technology impact that we ended up looking over the domain was industrial automation, and it was great that Lukas and Tommaso talked about robotic in industry, and also now the big trend is humanoid robotics. So we're trying to cover all the technology, providing e-skin across all these domains: industrial robotics, humanoid robotics, in particular service robotic, and apply to logistic, entertainment, and even healthcare. And the way we've been looking at the market was, I think some of these numbers have already been popped up. The total industrial market size in the US alone is about 74 billion in 2024. And industrial robot market size across the US is something like 214 billion by 2030. And we are looking at something like last couple of years, it's in the vicinity of 540 billion. So it's a very big market, the industrial market. And especially the service market is another market that we were looking at, service robot. The numbers are phenomenal, and across, we're going up to about something like 700 billion in 2030, and almost 405 companies looking at service and medical robot products producers. So I like the discussion on humanoid robot because I started my career working on humanoid robot, and the trend recently has been phenomenal. So the market size alone last year was something like 3.6 billion just in a single year. And we're looking at, depending on who you talk to, the way we've been looking at the model, the market size at the moment is about 30 billion by about 2030. But this number keeps growing, depending on who you talk to. And these are just some of the latest statistics that we actually picked up on. The other interesting thing is that phenomenally, there is almost one company in the last a year and a half. There's almost one new company started on humanoid robot each week, at least one. I keep saying one a week. So it is just a phenomenal market at the moment for humanoid robot. So back to how we actually got to this place with InTouch Robotics. It was actually a deep tech research that started in my lab. I wanted artificial skin to understand or allow robot to interact with the world through touch. And if you think about any robot in the world nowadays, they do not have the simple sense of touch the way human or animal have. So that go back to more than 10 years, that this kind of thinking. And in research and since the beginning of robotics, people do talk about touch and skin, but nobody ever accomplished it. So we thought we have a crack at actually make robotic skin actually work. And that's when I came to Europe. I started this particular project. The company started in 2021, November in Munich. And how it actually started was a project called Factory in a Day, right? The project was funded by a European Commission. It's based on a Framework 7 program. And what our ambition was to develop a robotic system that can be set up within 24 hours, and can be leased by any company. Why we wanted to do this, and it's still the current situation. Many robots, especially small and medium enterprises, do not use robotic system because of the lack of flexibility and unreasonable high cost in actually get started with robotic in many of these small medium enterprises. So this was our vision, right? So you have a truck arrive at the factory, robots are unloaded, and the operator start preparing, and the operator are designing a custom gripper or whatever, and then unload the self-configuring self-calibration of the robot, and they provide instruction and teaching the robot, and it's all done. So you go from 7 to 4, and then we actually have a system that fully comparable with whatever use cases in a small factory. That was our vision at the time. And so in typical European project, if you apply for European funding, you need a large number of partners. And typically they are across from university to large industrial partners to actually small company, like small startup or small SME, right? Like here, Lukas is a very small gripper company. And you have a large a project partner like Siemens, which is a large conglomerate. And then you have university like the Technical University of Munich, which is where I'm from. And then you have Universal Robot from other more medium-sized corporation for producing industrial arms. So the robot ended up to be very interesting. So we could actually teach a robot, self-configure, and based on touch, we can teach a robot, textile-based. And the example we were looking at, the use case here, was sorting oranges. Because we were working with a Dutch partner on how to actually sort oranges. And usually you squeeze the orange. If it's firm, you put it in a box for selling. And if it's a bit squishy, you put it in a box to juice. Right. So there's a whole lot of AI behind this. There's a whole lot of actually robot controller that come out of this particular effort. So the idea is that you have self-configuration of the robot. You go in one day, install, teach the robot, and then it starts working. And you teach it one, and it does all the recovery, and then you can actually execute it, adopt it with new object, and then you have error recovery and everything very quickly done. So the ambition of the company at the moment is last year we did a huge pilot study on many different robots. I think last year InTouch did 4 humanoid robots installation, and including a service robot and multiple industrial robotic arm to actually validate some of our idea. We were very surprised because we were contacted by a humanoid company because of the explosion of humanoid in the last year and a half. And they are just asked us, can you actually do installation on their humanoid robot? And we have validated now 4 different humanoid robots. So across the world, actually, we have 2 done, at least 2 in Japan and a few in Europe that have been installed with the robotic skin or e-skin that we have providing them. So we are actually looking at scaling up and production and actually to actually meet the demand of the different industries and different robot makers. And then in a couple of years, we will start moving into one technology for many applications and domains. Okay, I just want to give you some example of some of the things that we installed recently. So on top, you can see a humanoid robot that completely safe to interact with a human, right? And the robot is just being controlled by touch. And then on the bottom left, you can see an industrial robot arm, right, that we can actually control by what we call even a feather touch, that you can do very light control. And imagine you can actually teach a robot just by simply touching it and guiding it, and it start working on its own. And on the bottom we have a service robot that we've been prototyping with a company. And the humanoid robot, just to show the safety aspect of the robot, we even had somebody dance with the humanoid robot. So this is just to illustrate that you have very high capability by installing electronic skin onto any robot. Okay, so now I want to step away from InTouch. That's how we got there. That's the enabling technology we created. But to actually promote Europe as a robotic innovation center is that I picked up a couple of use cases. I think one of them has been mentioned already. There's a company called AnyRobotic. They are based in Zurich. And they've been having a phenomenal success in actually doing inspection. Lukas already touched on this. Inspection and also different use cases with more harsh environment with quadruped robot. And there's an eco robot which does farming, a lot of farming work that needs to be done in Switzerland. And there's a moon surgical robot. It's very interesting, surgical. They are looking at actually robotized surgery beyond what the standard Da Vinci robot. They've been having quite a lot of success. And there's the company called Aeroness from Lithia, and they've been looking at inspection and also and using some kind of robot that fly and then do some inspection, and then a lot of these cabling and all these kind of infrastructure use cases. They have been looking at these. So I just want to give you an idea of some of the European opportunity. The European Commission have been very proactive in supporting what we call SME, the small medium enterprise company. The main factors for these enterprises is staff count, either by turnover or balance sheet. If you're smaller than 2 million, then you are micro. If you're smaller than 10 million, then you're small, and then your medium size is less than 50 million in turnover. So any of these SME can apply for grant with the European Commission. And one of the things that is interesting more recently, which is largely based on getting funding for the readiness of your technology. The European Innovation Council is one of the ones that has been pushing this quite a lot. They have a budget that has been allocated to from between 2021 to 2027 at 9.7 billion in the budget, and it's been allocated to providing technology readiness, right? From for 1 to 4, you can actually apply for something called Pathfinder. I'll give you some detail about this in a minute. The allocated budget already at 2021 is 300 million. And the other one is EIC transition, which allocated something like 100 million already in 21. And the other one that is very interesting now is that that taking the technology all the way to the end, that you can actually make market deployment, which is the accelerator. And they are looking at technology readiness from 5 to 6 to about 8 to 9. So these are very different stages of funding you can actually gain from the European Commission, right? So the research it's very interesting from one to 4, and then the development, and then the market deployment. And these are the different technology readiness that the European Commission actually specify. You know, the basic principle of observe, and then the technology concept and experimental proof of concept are basically the 1 to 3. And then you have the development cycle, which is the technology validation in lab and validation in relevant environment, and technology actual demonstration in relevant environment is 4 to 6. These are more in the development cycle, and the actual deployment almost ready for deployment into customer. It's a system near the prototype demonstration at 7 in operational environment, and system and the validation and qualification and also certification are basically level 8. And the actual system proven in actual operational environment is what we call technology level 9. So this actually give you some kind of level and benchmark how you actually establish yourself when you're applying for the funding with the European Commission. And also it helps the company actually set up how they the technology roadmap in actually getting a product out. Okay, so I just give you a quick rundown on a Pathfinder, which is at the probably at the groundbreaking research level, with the long-term aim of actually industrial commercialization. The interesting thing about this is when they do the lower level, the timeline is tend to be longer. You can have project up to 48 months. And these are just some of the statistics. In the 2023 call, they had 368 submitted proposals, and in the end, they had 43 projects actually funded. And the niceness is you have 150 million invested in 64 countries, and the consortium is at least 3 different legal entity established with different countries. And a single application, because one person had to lead the whole consortium. And the other the standard ERC Pathfinder can be very open. You can actually develop a concept and then just submit a proposal. But in a more specific level, they have something called an ERC Pathfinder for challenges. And this is very interesting. In the next current call for challenges is they're focusing on biotech, generative AI, and also into robotic collective delivery collaborative tasks in dynamic and unstructured environment. That is one of the challenges they want to tackle. And then waste and value devices, which is more of a recycling idea. So the transitional side is that you're at the level of almost in the development stage, right? That you're ready to develop your first prototype or something like along that line. This is where InTouch actually initiated initial starter in that area. The last, and it tends to be a little bit shorter. It's about 36 months per project. And it's in the 2024 call, there was 415 proposals submitted. Only 27 projects got funded, but they actually invested something like 94 million into 21 country. Interestingly, SME and organization can actually lead one of these projects. The consortium tend to be smaller, probably a minimum of 2 and 5 at maximum. And larger companies which do not qualify as SME are not eligible. So this is mainly keeping it to the SME and the spin-off company that are coming out of these research labs. And these are the 4 different type of transitional funding that you can get. The Pathfinder, which I have already discussed with you, it just you have these open core, they have proactive core, and then more of a FET is more of a future emerging technology, and then they use that to launch some of these core idea. And the European Research Council, specifically for European research grantee, have this thing called proof of concept. It's a smaller budget. It's just a very basic science that want to actually have some funding to actually see if they can actually get some kind of prototype going. And then the main one is actually this research innovation action. They are funded more substantial and then require a lot more research partner. The defense one, I don't personally to do defense, so I would prefer to skip that. Okay, so the accelerator is something that is very specific to startup and SME, right? The idea is to actually help them to actually jump between the transitional level all the way up to almost product release. Their last call, they had over 1,200 proposals, and then they had 431 being interviewed, and 71 company actually got funded. And the budget is more substantial. It's 387 million last year was invested into 16 different EU companies. So they are more. You can have a single application from one startup, and then it's intended to actually go from startup to actually going into a small company, and then actually get the product off the ground based on your after your development. And also they have a challenges program. The challenger program at the moment is this year looking at advanced material, and then biotechnology, low emission for food and feed production, and generative AI is another one, and space is another one that they are putting a lot into the challenges. And then the breakthrough in future mobility is another thing they are looking at. And the open challenges are something that if you don't fit into any of the challenges, you can start proposing your own. I would just want to finish up with this last thing that is interesting for how we actually InTouch started, was that future Factory of the Future program. That it usually mixed, which I allocated something like 1.15 billion in public-private partnership, focused on developing advanced manufacturing technology. And the biggest, at the moment, the biggest project of EU towards Industrial 4.0. And there is discussion into Industrial 5.0 in more future program. And these are some of the just example of some of the large consortium. And these are the EU star country. And since 2020, which we were currently to be funded, they had 208 projects already funded with more than 1,000 beneficiaries. And the SME consortium eligible are, SME, innovative SME lead the proposal from one of the EU's Eurostar country. The consortium had to compose at least 2 legal entity, that one independent of one of each other. And then the project consortium must be composed of at least 2 European countries, and then 1 organization coming from the EU. And the Horizon Europe have a number of associated countries that you can actually bring in to actually get some funding from the EU to actually join the project. And then the budget is for SME from your country. Actually, it's something like 50% or more of the total budget, right? So the responsibility, one of the restrictions is just to make sure the budget is fairly fair and even. So no one single participant or country can have more than 70% of the budget. And the project duration is about 36 months or shorter. And I think the scheme in Europe, at least my experience, has been fantastic to actually get from research to development, and then now going to the market product deployment. So that's what I want to touch base on with you today. I'm open to any questions. Please excuse me for going very fast. Maria?
This is great. Thank you. I think you went on a great pace, and timing-wise, we ended fantastically. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. If not, I mean, I had kind of two questions, but again, depending on if we receive something from the Q&A. But so I wanted to ask if you were to go back in time when you were starting InTouch Robotics, or maybe even your first company, what is something that you would kind of tell yourself as a learning lesson as you've now grown to the position that you are currently in this industry?
Okay. I love being in Europe. I have a lot of friends in Europe. Having good partners is really important, right? And building that friendship and a relationship is really, really important. And I think some people neglect this. Just think tech, but there's a personal side to it, right? And I think that often neglected. Okay. And also, I think starting small is a good idea.
Nice. Good to know. Good to know. Here we have a Vlad saying, thank you that your technology is really great. And I guess he'll text you on LinkedIn.
Okay, thank you.
So that's nice to hear. And maybe one more thing. So as AI, I mean, continues to evolve, how do you see AI's role in, the development and enhancing robotic touch sensitivity and interaction?
Okay, this is something we do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So AI is actually helping us a lot in speeding up development, and also coming up, in the classic day, like people suffer with, all the mathematics to actually, do all the programming to actually get the robot to work. Nowadays, I was very surprised. I've been looking at some of these AI tools for programming. It's incredible now. I came up with an app, a iPhone app within a day using an AI tool.
Yeah.
And that will be my wish for robotics.
Yeah.
We should use these tools to actually, accelerate the entire field.
Yeah, completely agree. It's true. So thank you very much, Gordon, for today's session and your side of the workshop. It was really great hearing from you. I guess people can find you on LinkedIn if they want to connect. I can also add your link here. But yeah, thank you very much. I'll do my closing statements unless you have a call to action before heading out.
No, I'll let you close up. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Let me share my screen once more, and it was great having you on.
All right, take care.
Thank you. So just to close off, I just want to mention the main ways of communicating with us in Institute Bravery. If you have any questions about this webinar today, just ask us, reach out to us. We're here to help. This webinar has been recorded, so it also will live on the YouTube. But before heading out, just make sure if you found this valuable and you want to join other sort of webinars like these ones, just make sure to, I just sent it on the chat, but fill out the form to be part of the network and receive the notification for the next soft landing workshops that are happening. But it was great having you all here. Thank you very much for participating and for your fantastic questions. And thank you to all of the speakers that were with us today. Have a great rest of the day. And I think this is a great moment to end the workshop. Thank you.